Okay, I'm going to try to open up the floor here. We've had all the questions up front. If anybody in the back has a question, we'll go to the back of the room. Yes, we do have a question back there. Yes, and you don't have to talk loudly. We can hear you.
Hi, Anthony. It's Kelly.
As soon as our mic is on, and that's the orange mic.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Anthony. It's Kelly Chun.
Hi, how are you, Kelly?
Marketer, cause-related marketing, and multicultural marketing. Is Facebook fatigue trending now? I've been hearing that there are 6 million less subscribers as of last month. Is that enough to make a trend? Can the panel comment on social media fatigue and some of the challenges of managing this? Perhaps not on a business level, but perhaps more on a personal level.
Sure. Who wants to try that?
Facebook did lose about 6 million subscribers, according to independent research in the last month that they tracked. I think it was May. To some extent, that is cyclical. That happens every year around this time when college students graduate. A lot of them delete their accounts. But they're also Facebook is at saturation. I mean, half of the U.S. population is on Facebook. There's very little room for growth. So I think there is some fatigue developing if you are promiscuous on Facebook. If you have a lot of friends, a lot of people you don't know, the sheer volume of messages sometimes becomes overwhelming. And it can cause, and some people just decide, I'm going to start over again. This isn't a useful tool for me anymore because I'm not connecting with my friends. I seem to be connecting with this mass of people I don't even know. But I wouldn't say Facebook is in any imminent trouble.
Yeah.
That did actually happen to me. Like, I didn't get Facebook very well in the beginning, and I got so fixated on Twitter that I just kind of never dug in and learned it. And I did have a lot of inbound requests because of all the Twitter stuff and the book Twitter for Dummies and all the stuff going on with my life. I was lucky enough to have a ton of attention on Facebook from people I had no clue who they were. And so for a long time, I added them to be polite, and then I got kind of overwhelmed and stopped even looking at my invites and had like 700 I hadn't processed. And then one day I finally made the jump and just killed that account. I didn't delete it. I did something called convert it into a page. So it's now a professional or business page, which I was really loath to do because it's kind of fan me on Facebook. I'm somehow special. And it was traumatic because it deleted all my content and every photo I'd ever been tagged in and whatever. But it let me go and set up a truly personal account. And I have that personal account settings ratcheted down as tight as I can. By the way, Facebook's privacy issues, like, I've followed the letter of the law, and they still suggest that account to people all the time, which they should not be doing. And they say they won't do, but they do. But the best thing that happened to me, as soon as I had that real personal account, I found out about his twins right away. I never would have seen that in the noise of the 3,000 person. I thought Facebook was stupid because I didn't know any of the people whose updates I was seeing. And then one week it was like that, and the very next week I found out about Paul's twins right away. And honestly, for me, the reason I did it was when I was interacting with family members' content on Facebook, I was dragging along this giant audience that none of my family members ever agreed. And it felt weird. I did raise a niece, and she was having a baby, and I'm commenting on her ultrasounds, and like, she doesn't need the world looking at that. So you do have to find your new, and this gets back to the privacy thing, you do have to find your new levels of content. But yeah, I mean, Facebook is not about to disappear. I think businesses just need to understand what converts well, what's effective, and what's just window dressing.
Anybody else? Seth, yes.
On Facebook's privacy, I determined about maybe 6 months ago that it was going to be easier to live a completely clean, wholesome, and good life and share everything than understand Facebook's privacy settings. So I think...
The global village returns.
Right. So we work very closely with Facebook at Scavenger, and you know, I've had the opportunity to interact a lot with Zuckerberg, and so we really know a lot about what's going on there. And it's an immensely powerful and immensely cool thing, and it definitely has a number of flaws. Privacy being, you know, perhaps at the top of the heap. But But depending on how you choose to use Facebook, it's really powerful. And I'm in the mode where I get ridiculous numbers of friend requests from people I don't know. I accept them all, and I sort of revel in that lack of privacy, in that I'm interacting with people who I'll never meet in person. I've got friends in Dubai on Facebook who I will literally never meet, and they saw something I did online, and now we start talking back and forth, and it's actually pretty fascinating. But you definitely you have to be conscious about Facebook these days. You have to go in and say, I want this to be for me and my friends and my family, or you go and you say, I want this to just be me talking with anyone who's interested, and that can be quite fun.
By the way, Seth just gave us the most tweetable line of the event so far.
Someone tweet it, because I want to retweet that so bad, please.
Yes,
I think there's another great point in there that everybody uses the different platforms the different ways, because what Seth just described is precisely what I do with my Twitter account. I know, I don't know, but there are 80,000 people out there reading it, and I've opened up and followed them back, not because I can see all their tweets, but so they can privately message me, and that's my place to deal with the anonymous. And I use LinkedIn very differently from probably how you use it, and that's okay. And I'm pointing this out because I want you to remember, when your business approaches it, don't freak out that there's only one right way, and that it's okay to be a little different on the different platforms as it pertains to you and what you're trying to get done. Give yourself permission to experiment.
Just a fact check before I invited Seth, I did a background check on you, and I knew that you were wholesome. So thank you so much. Yes, we're going to go to the next question, okay? Okay. Because I know we have more. Yes? Do we have another question? Yes, right over here in the corner. To the right, orange.
Hello. Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
David Sands, Newton, Mass. As far as don't feed the trolls, not so much using social media to do advertising, but more for PR for industries, let's say like banking, oil, tobacco, things that customers just love to go off in a negative sense. You just not even go there, or is that a way to kind of combat it and kind of put your message out and try to show some positive attributes to these industries that typically get maligned?
So probably you and I will have different opinions on this. So I'll jump in first, and then would love to hear your feedback on that. I'm of the opinion that you really do want to pick your battles, and sometimes it really is the right thing to do to go out and say, to respond and to say, hey, we recognize your opinion. Here's our feedback. Help us learn how we can improve, because it's often hard to tell the difference, but some commenters really are offering very valuable constructive criticism. Maybe it's not phrased as constructively as it could be, but the underlying points are correct, and there you do really want to be active. There are some comments, especially in some of the more either politically or charged industries, where you do, you actually don't want to respond. You want to let it die off. You want to just, let people vent off steam. And it's like, it's similar to in person. If you've got someone who's saying, mean things to you in person, sometimes you do want to say, hey, let me understand you, let me empathize, let me respond accurately. If you've just got someone who's screaming and not making any sense, you just want them to stop screaming and stop causing a disruption as soon as possible, and often not interacting is the right choice there. So I'm of the opinion that you should measure and decide your path on almost a case-by-case basis, but I'm sure some of the other panelists have different opinions on that. Well,
I think banking and oil are somewhat different from tobacco. It's hard to make a positive PR case for tobacco. But some companies, these businesses that are in controversial fields, will often use social media as sort of their corporate social responsibility platform, and try to highlight what they're doing, perhaps as an anti-smoking initiative or environmental protection, and that seems to work. Pretty well. For companies in highly regulated industries such as financial services or telecommunications or areas where there are tight government limits on what you can say, certainly pharmaceuticals and medicine, you have to state up front what you can't say. Because once you, as far as the FCC is concerned, once you answer a question in public, you are committed to answering that same question or questions like that again. You've established a precedent. So I think it's important to have a clear set of guidelines about what you will and won't talk about. And if you're in a politically charged industry, choose to focus on the positive, such as your environmental campaigns, your social awareness campaigns.
And be careful in how you focus on the positive. KFC did something recently for the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, right? So that's really a good fit, because their restaurants aren't serving the healthiest food, and they're in neighborhoods where childhood obesity and diabetes is a huge problem. Great, right? They made a donation when you bought their gallon-sized thing of sugar water. It was Joe Waters here, who does some great work with the Boston Medical Center, who blogged about it. It was like, really? What the? So there's the third option, which is make your core product suck less. You know, people say Apple doesn't have a social media strategy. That's been like a really popular thing for social media experts to be like, they don't blog, they're not accessible, they're not transparent, they suck, you know. They have a fantastic social media strategy. People love what they build.
They don't need one.
My entire engineering team stops coding and goes and rents a conference room so they can watch the iPad get announced. You know, I totally didn't get it, but they were obsessed. And, you know, make great stuff. Make stuff that's worth talking about.
Even though Business Week did a front page story on the production facility in China where there are a number of suicides, people jump out of the windows because they're working 95 hours a week. But that's okay.
Then social media quickly debunked that those rates weren't any higher at Apple suppliers than they were at other people's suppliers, and that Apple had conducted due diligence on the factories. So a lot of interesting stuff comes out. You know, often when you do get that negative thing, there was a question earlier about rumors getting out of hand. They do self-damp pretty quickly. There are a lot of fact finders.
It's a great response, quick response.
Yep.
Exactly.
There's a ton of people. The XKCD, that cartoonist, also has a presence here in Boston. Has a great cartoon of someone, you know, up late typing on their computer, and their spouse is going, "Honey, come to bed." And they're like, "Somebody's wrong on the internet." And there's millions of those out there to do your work for you, so it's great.
Or you could react like the followers of Sarah Palin, who rewrote the history of Paul Revere.
Ring them bells.
And which was corrected within an hour.
Yes, corrected in an hour. We have it right down here. Yes.
Hi there, Ron.
Oops. You're next to the mic there. That's all right. If you hold the mic the other way, away from the speaker there. Old feedback code. Yes. Go ahead.
Hi, Rhonda Mann from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Just picking up on some of the negative comment chat that you were just talking about. For an industry like ours, and we were really the first major hospital to do social media a number of years ago in Boston, privacy law obviously is a very difficult thing for us to get around. So the idea of a hospital doing any kind of interactive messaging platform was really tricky with compliance and whatnot. So my question is there ever a point where you censor comments? And this has come up a number of times. Fortunately, about 98% of our comments on Facebook, for instance, are positive. But sometimes comments get very personal about a physician or employee or something like that. And maybe other businesses have had this where employees are attacked on Facebook in some way. And there's been discussion about whether we should leave that up. And we have a no censorship policy. So we try to explain that we're not going to take it down. We're going to respond in some way, but we're not going to take it down. But what do you think about, at what point, other than bad language, obviously, would you take something down?
Well, the comments are a giant whack-a-mole game. So if you take it down, it's just going to pop up somewhere else. So you know what Nestle did when they were being criticized over rainforest devastation and deleted comments, negative comments on their Facebook page, created a much bigger publicity problem for themselves by deleting the comments than they ever would have if they had left them up there. The correct thing to do is to respond. You can have a policy, a stated policy, that inappropriate comments, and you can define what is inappropriate, obscenity, for example, or personal attacks, will be deleted. That is the policy of this page. It's okay if you do that. Otherwise, I think responding to inappropriate comments and saying this is not an issue that we will discuss here as a matter of policy, it is not appropriate for this forum, is the best approach. I think deleting is the last thing you should do.
But there are definitely times to delete, and having that clear policy, you know, like if you hate speech or crimes or, you know, like really abusive stuff will be taken down, is perfectly acceptable. And then I think communicating that policy very clearly and having it readily accessible is important. And you can gain respect from when you do leave some negative stuff out, the valid negative stuff. It's, hey, we're real. I'd rather it happen on my turf than off somewhere that I don't know about.